Very good morning, students. So today I would like to continue the same pattern, which is like frequently asked questions in 1 mark as well as in 2 marks from the chapter index numbers, right? So today we are going to discuss chapter number 2, index numbers, most frequently asked questions. So in the previous video I have discussed about vital statistics, which are all in the previous years frequently asked questions. The same way we shall continue the next chapter. Look at here. So here are the list of questions which frequently asked from index numbers chapter. See, look at your first question. Index numbers are known as economic barometer. So index numbers are also called as an economic barometer. What does it mean exactly? Why it is called as an economic barometer? First and foremost, as you all know that barometer. What do you mean by a barometer? Barometer is very much helpful to measure the atmospheric pressures. Day-to-day basis, how the atmospheric changes would occur, how the barometer is going to measure. The same way, index numbers works like to measure the pulse rate of economy and all the business activities, right? So how this economical barometer helpful? Why it is index number called as an economic barometer? Because index numbers are very much useful to measure the relative changes in economic and business activities of a country, right? How the barometer measures the atmospheric pressure day-to-day basis, same like index numbers also measures the changes occur in day-to-day basis of all the commodities from one year to another year. So every day-to-day basis it measures the economic and business activities of a country. That is the reason these index numbers are known as a economic barometer. Is it clear? So what you need to write is the barometers helpful to measure the relative changes in atmospheric pressure, same like the index numbers are helpful in measuring the changes occur in economic and business activities of a country. That is the reason this index number act like an economic barometer. Are you clear, guys? This is first question. Question number 2. What is the value of index number for the base year? So there are two ways, the value index number definition and value of the index number for the base year is different. There are two ways the question can be asked. Define value index number and what is the value of index number for the base year? That is the question. Value of index number for the base year is always considered as 100. You all know that. Clear? So the value of the index number for the base year is always 100. 100 is a fixed value of index number for the base year. That is question number 2. And question number 3. Write any one characteristic of index number. So we have some set of characteristics. So characteristic number 1, they have asked us only write any one characteristic. If it is asked for 2 marks, write any 2 characteristics it will be asked. So if it is asked for 1 mark, write any one characteristic of index number. Generally we have few characteristics. Number 1, index numbers are also called as a specialized type of averages. You all know that, right? So index numbers are specialized type of averages. That is first characteristic. And characteristic number 2, they used to measure the rates and ratios, right? Especially index numbers deals with rates and ratios. Remember. So how the specialized type of averages we said, even index numbers works like a, it measures the, it is useful in rates and ratios measuring also. That is the reason for measuring the rates and ratios we convert in terms of percentages. Remember. So index numbers we calculate in terms of, we compute in terms of percentages. That is the second characteristic. And the third one is it always facilitates comparison. For comparative study, definitely index numbers are very much useful. So these are the 3 characteristics of index number. So they have asked us to write only one characteristic of index number. Definitely if it is asked 1, preferably writing 2. You all know that. Why we said to write 2 characteristics? Because if you, by unnoticingly if you go wrong, the backup one, the other one which you are going to write, that will help you to gain marks. Clear? Next, write any one limitation of index number. So limitations means you all know that they are called as a demerits or disadvantages, limitations. So one limitation of index number, as you all know that we definitely depend upon the sample of the data but not the census, right? Each and every data we are not going to calculate in index numbers, only we follow the sample data. So whenever you are using the sample data, index numbers are just called as appropriate indicators. They are just appropriate indicators, right? Because you are taking the sample of the data, not the census, not each and every information, right? That is one limitation of index number. Next, there is one more limitation. As there is a chance of being error is introduced, there is a likelihood of error being introduced because you are depending upon the sample, you are not considering the census, right? So that is a second limitation of index number. At the same time, we are least bothered about quality of the data, right? We are considering only the quantity of the data to construct an index number. We are least bothered about the quality. So that is a third limitation. So like this, at the same time there is one more limitation. Many formulae are being introduced to find out or to construct the index numbers, but every formula would give different results. Clear? So each and every formula would give different results. Even though you are calculating the same data with many formula, every formula will give different results, right? So that is a fourth question. Write any one limitation of index number. Next, what is fixed base and chain base index number? Before going to this concept, fixed base and chain base, I would like to discuss about question number 9. Norms to select base year. Generally, you all know that. What do you mean by base year? The year which is used for comparison. That is called as a base year, right? Current year means where comparisons are needed, required. That itself is a current year. Base year means the year which is used for comparison. Current year means the year where the comparisons are needed, required. That is the current year. Generally, base year is denoted as 0 and the current year is denoted as 1. You all know that. Now, what are the norms to select the base year? That is one important question. Generally, to select the base year, we have to follow generally 3 norms. First one, the year which is going to be selected for the base year, that year must be economically stable. Remember, so you all know the meaning of economically stable. Stability means you know that meaning, right? Without any fluctuations in that year, either in terms of prices or demand, whatever it is, fluctuation shouldn't be there. That is the meaning of economically stable. So no floods, no wars, no droughts, right? No strikes. Everything should be a clean period. Then only we can guess the exact prices as well as the commodities, items, quantities, isn't it? So selection of base year, the first norm is the year which is to be selected must be a economically stable period. That is the first norm. Norm number 2. The year which is going to be selected, it should not be too distant from the current year. What does it mean too distant? Suppose 2020, you want to find out the index number. It shouldn't be like 2000 or 1990 or 1980, it should not be too far, right? That year which is going to be selected for the base to measure the index number in current, it should be a nearby, it should not be too distant, it should not be too distant, remember. These are the 2 norms. And the third norm is the selection of base year must be a fixed base or the chain base. Here comes the question number 5. Fixed base and chain base. What do you mean by fixed base period? Generally you all know that selection of base period means the year which is used for comparison, right? Then fixed base, whatever the current year you consider to measure the index number, but base year is fixed for all the current years. That is the meaning of fixed base index number. What is the exact definition of fixed base index number? Look at the definition of fixed base index number. If the period of comparison is kept fixed for all the current years. So the year which is fixed or kept fixed for all the current years, that itself is a fixed base. What do you mean by chain base? Chain base means from the current year exactly the preceding year to find the relative changes in the level of phenomena, right? Exactly the preceding year of base year, current year, sorry. exactly the preceding year of the current year. At the same time, for example, 2020, 2019 would be the chain base. If you take 2019 as the current, 2018 will be the base. So exactly the preceding year, followed year behind, right? So those are all the chain base index number. That is a question number 5. Next, which average is most commonly used average in construction of index number? Generally, average, whenever we say in index numbers, we use two averages. One is arithmetic mean and the other one is a geometric mean. You all know that. Now, which one is the most commonly used average? Definitely, we can say undoubtedly arithmetic mean. So, arithmetic mean is the most commonly used average. Remember. So, this is a 1 mark question. Here you need to write the answer arithmetic mean. And coming to next one, question number 7. Which is the best average in construction of index number? See, as I said that best average in the construction of index number. Index numbers, what is the one of the characteristic what it is for index number? We are dealing with rates and ratios, right? And we are computing in terms of percentages for the comparative study. There we are using the rates and ratios to measure, right? For rates and ratios, generally geometric mean is always the best measure, best average to measure the rates and ratios. Are you clear? So index numbers we are dealing with rates and ratios. Obviously, which average is used as a best average to in the construction of index number? Undoubtedly, it is a geometric mean. So most commonly is the arithmetic mean. Best average is the geometric mean. Remember, guys. Next, coming to this one, why arithmetic mean is always bigger than the geometric mean? Because arithmetic mean, as you all know, that it's the most commonly used average, and geometric mean is the best average to use in the construction of index numbers. Now, arithmetic mean and geometric mean, why the change? What is the reason? Arithmetic mean, why it is greater than geometric mean? Why it is bigger than the geometric mean? Because arithmetic mean gives greater weightage to bigger items, isn't it? Generally, in our home only you consider day-to-day basis how the commodities usage would be, right? Everything is eatable only, but the usage quantity, say for example, rice 250 grams to 500 grams we are going to cook every day. But sugar, that is also eatable thing, but we should not use 250 to 500 grams in a day, isn't it? There is a lot of difference. But when constructing by using the average of arithmetic mean, then arithmetic mean is least bother about what item you are going to bifurcate. I mean, weights are least bother in arithmetic mean. So weights do not be considered. At the same time, arithmetic mean gives greater weightage to bigger items. So it won't consider what item, how much quantity should be used. It considers all are same, all are equal. Wherein geometric mean is not like that. Depending upon the commodity, it keeps on changing it, right? And if any negative comes also, it won't be. If any zero comes also, it won't be constructed geometric mean. But arithmetic mean, everything will be considering as equal. That is the reason AM always gives the greater weightage to bigger items. That is the reason AM is always greater than geometric mean. And the ninth one is already done. Norms to select base year. First norm is the year which is to be selected must be an economically stable period, and the second one is the year which is to be selected as base, it should not be too distant from the current year. These are the two norms. Next, bias of an index number. See, generally we have two. One is upward, downward, up and down biasness. So last payers method shows always upward bias. Past year's index number shows always downward bias. What is the reason? Why last payers is showing upward and why past year's is showing downward biasness? Because last payers index numbers, which is called as a weighted aggregative method, right? So last payers price index number considers the weights as base year quantities, right? base year quantities with the present current year price. Obviously, the usage will become more than it is needed. You understand it? With the base year quantities with the current year price, definitely the usage will become more, because base year quantities means at that time price was different. Say for example, how I can say this, by last payers is upward and past years is downward is, last payers index numbers, which is based on base year quantities, gives relatively more weightage for such commodities than needed, and consequently the numerator is relatively large. So indirectly I have said that last payers index shows as upward bias. Reason is it considers the base year quantities. With the base year quantities, definitely the usage will become more than it is needed. At the same time, with current year price, current year quantities means definitely the usage will become low. That is the reason. Clear? So in last payers, base year quantities are being used, right? So with the base year quantities in the present year, the usage will become more than it is needed. But wherein past year's method, it is used as current year quantities as the weights. So with the current year quantities with the current year price, the usage will become less than it is needed. That is the reason past year shows downward bias, last pay shows upward bias. That's it. Next, question number 11. Look at there, question number 11. Adequacy of tests. One is circular test, unit test, time reversal test, factor reversal test. Time reversal test means, you know that, the reciprocal of time period, base to current, current to base, the reciprocal of the time period. What is the condition for the TRT? P01 into P10 must be equals to 1, the time reversal test. Time reversal test satisfies Marshall-Edgeworth as well as Fisher's index number. TRT satisfies Marshall-Edgeworth as well as Fisher's index numbers. Next, factor reversal test. What do you mean by factor reversal test? Factors we know, price and quantities, these are the factors. So the price multiplied by quantity must be equals to expenditure. You all know that, right? So FRT P01 into Q01 equals to P01. This is the condition. And FRT satisfies only Fisher's. Clear? Next, coming to circular test. Circular test is nothing but the extension of the time reversal test from 0 to n number of time periods. So this can be taken as P01, P12 and P20 equals to 1. Even this also equals to 1. But circular test means where it started the time period, there it ends. Right? So circular motion. From base to base it ends. Current to current it ends. This way it is. So circular test is nothing but extension of a time reversal test. The shiftability of base period we can see. Right? Circular test. Next, circular test satisfies geometric mean as well as Kelly's method also. Circular test satisfies geometric mean as well as Kelly's index number. And the next one is unit test. Unit test is always a neutral. It satisfies all the methods. Okay, independent of units, where all we are measuring, there the unit test will satisfy. But except the simple price relative index number. Except that everything it satisfies, unit test. Clear? Next, which weights are assigned for weighted aggregative methods? Say, last years, which weights are being used? Base year quantities. For past years, current year quantities. Marshall-Edgeworth, Fisher's and Dorbish-Bowley, it considers both base as well as current. Right? That is the reason Marshall-Edgeworth. See, biasness means what? Falling on either one side, either base or current. Last years falls on only base year. Past years falls on only current year. That is the reason those two methods shows biasness, upward and downward. But wherein Marshall, Dorbish, Fisher's, all these are free of bias, because we are not considering or we are not showing any biasness of one side, either base or current. Both we are considering it in Marshall, Fishers and Darvish-Ford. That's why those three methods were free of biasness. Next, cost of living index number. Question number 13. Consumer price index number. Nothing but cost of living index number. What do you mean by cost of living index number? A cost met by specified class of people in purchasing a basket of goods and services, called as cost of living index number. Very simply, in one word I can say, expenditure of specified classes of people and the services what they are going to take it, right? And what are the steps to construct? Number one, purpose of an index number and the scope, right? Purpose of cost of living index as well as the scope, geographical area, where to start. Second one is family budget surveys and enquiries. Different classes of people, according to that survey has to be conducted and collecting the data from them, what items, how the items were quoted, everything data should be considered. And the third step is price quotations. It's a common nature, right? Price quotations. When we have some list of commodities, definitely we search for different shops, shop to shop, place to place, we are going to quote that one, right? Where we get the cheaper. At the same time, last one is methods of constructing the cost of living index number. Generally, we have two methods. One is aggregative expenditure method and the second one is family budget method, right? And question number 14. Index numbers construction steps. So there are totally 7 steps. Step number 1, what is the purpose of an index number? If you know the purpose, definitely you would come to know what base year to be selected and how the items to be selected, what weights to be selected, which formula should be applied. Everything you will come to know if you know the purpose of index number. Second one is selection of base period followed by few norms. And the third one is selection of items, right? After selecting an item, we have to select average, we have to select weight, we have to select formula, right? So at the same time, in between, price quotation also for that item, obtaining the price quotations. So what are the construction steps? Step number 1, purpose. Step number 2, selection of base period. Step number 3, selection of items. Step number 4, after selecting an item, quoting that, price quotation, obtaining the price quotation. After that, selection, point number 5, selection of selection of weights, and next selection of average, selection of formula, right? So these are the construction steps of index number. Last but not the least, why Fisher's index number is called as an ideal index number? As you all know that Ronald A. Fisher is a father of statistics, right? So he has implemented the statistics and he has been evaluated, inoculated this subject statistics in many ways, isn't it? Now, Fisher's index number called ideal index number. So ideal in the sense you know the meaning, unique, right? Ideal, unique. Why we call this Fisher's index number is ideal? Because Fisher's index number is the one and only method which satisfies both TRT as well as FRT, time reversal and factor reversal. Any method you consider, it won't be satisfying except TRT and FRT. So Fisher's method is the ultimate ideal method to satisfy the TRT and FRT. Second one is Fisher's index number used the best average which is to be constructed in index number, right? Best average means you know that geometric mean. So Fisher's numbers considers the geometric mean, which is called as a best average. So that is the second one why Fisher's is ideal. And the third one is Fisher's doesn't show any biasness. It considers both price as well as quantities, right? So that's the reason Fisher's index number is free of bias. And number 4, it considers both price and quantities of base and current years. So these are the 4 points we consider why Fisher's index number called as an ideal index number. So have a look once again. All these are frequently asked questions in the previous years. So have a look once again. Why index numbers are known as economic barometer? Value of index number for the base year is 100. one characteristic of index number. They are specialized type of averages, and then percentages are used to compute the index numbers as we deal with rates and ratios, and it facilitates comparison. Next, one limitation of index number is, we have many limitations. One of the limitation is the index numbers are just appropriate indicators because they use only the sample data. At the same time, as we are taking the sample data, definitely there is a likelihood of being error is introduced. Next, what is fixed base and chain base index number? Fixed base index number is the year which is kept fixed for all the current years. That particular base year is called as a fixed base year. Chain base means always the preceding year of the current year, if you consider. Which is the most commonly used average in construction of index number? Obviously arithmetic mean. Which is the best average in construction of index number? That is geometric mean. What is a base year and current year? Base year is nothing but the year which is kept for comparison. Current year means the year where the comparisons are needed. Next, why AM is greater than geometric mean? Arithmetic mean is greater than geometric mean because arithmetic mean gives the greater weightage to bigger items. What are the norms to select the base year? There are two norms. First one is it should be an economically stable period, the base year what you are going to select. And the second norm is the base year should not be too distant from the current year. Next, question number 10. Bias of an index. Last pay year shows upward bias and past year shows downward bias. Reason why last pay year is upward? Because last pay years are considered the weights as base year quantities. When you use the base year quantities, definitely the usage will become more than it is needed, and the numerator relatively large. That is the reason it is always upward. And past years why it is downward means it considers the current year quantities. With current year quantities, with the current price, definitely the usage will become less than it is needed. Shows past years downward. Next, TRT, FRT, circular and unit test. Time reversal test. The reversal of the reciprocal of time period must be equals to 1. P01 into P10 equals to 1. And TRT satisfies Marshall, Edgeworth and Fisher's and also Kelly's. And FRT satisfies, one second, TRT satisfies Marshall, Edgeworth and Fisher's, even Kelly's also. And FRT, factor reversal, P01 into Q01 equals to V01, that is a condition. In factor reversal test, Fisher's alone satisfies FRT, and circular test is nothing but the shiftability of the base year. We can say it as an extension of time period to n time points from 0 to n. So circular motion it is also equals to 1. Circular test satisfies geometric mean, simple geometric mean, as well as Kelly's method also. And unit test satisfies all the methods except the simple average of price relative method. Next, which weights are assigned for weighted aggregative method? Say last pay years, base year quantities, past years, current year quantities. What do you mean by CPI? Consumer price index or cost of living index number. Definition: a cost met by specified class of people in purchasing a basket of goods and services. And what are the steps? Purpose and scope, family budget surveys and enquiries conduction, and then price quotations obtaining, and the fourth one is methods of constructing CPI. There are two methods: aggregative expenditure and family budget. Next, index numbers. You know the definition of index number. It is used to measure the relative change in the level of phenomenon with respect to time, geographical area, etc. Now, what are the steps? First one is construction steps of index number. First one is a purpose. Second one is a selection of base year. Third one is selection of item. And the fourth one is obtaining price quotation. And the fifth one is selection of weights and selection of average. And the last one, selection of formulae. And the last one is why Fisher is called as an ideal index number, because it satisfies both TRT and FRT. And second one, it always deals with a geometric mean, which is called as a best average in construction of index number. And it is used both base and current years of prices and quantities, and it is always free of bias. So with this, these are all the most frequently asked questions from the chapter index numbers. So I hope I am clear about all the questions of index numbers. Please follow the videos, thoroughly observe the videos. So definitely this will help you to prosper in your scores and all, in marks, in statistics. Clear? I hope everybody is doing good. Have a nice day. Stay home. Stay safe. Thank you.